although breakfast might be the most important meal of the day, how on earth do you make money from it?
I've got news for you. You
When we bleep that, that's 100% going to look like he's saying you fucking. Hello, TK.
Pete, how are you, mate?
Great. How are you?
Fantastic.
It's the end of the day.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the start of the day.
Oh, yeah?
Just to flip the table a little bit. I think this came out of, Corey brought up a couple of topics that we thought we were going to discuss today, and one of them in there talked about trends, and one of the things we sort of don't like. And Corey mentioned, how the fact that everyone's now doing eggs Benedict of some kind or whatever. They probably have for some time, but it's a bit of a fashion thing at the moment. And I want to talk about breakfast.
Tough.
None of your venues do breakfast. Why?
Jeez, it's a tough way to make a quid.
Why? I'm not just going to ask why all night too. I might though.
It's a cheap product to sell.
Yep.
Low
sell price.
Low margin.
Yeah.
High volume.
Yeah.
Equals. Didn't we just do this with donuts?
Challenges.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's a similar
it's
thing.
hard. Like you've got to sell so much of it.
Yeah.
And there's very few places that I know that can operate under management, because all of our venues operate under management, that do breakfast and lunch and make a good living out of it.
Yeah.
I think Harvey's in Brisbane, they've just been institutional.
That's that place. I mean, between their breakfasts, which are, and I'm PJ, I love you, but their breakfasts are fine. Like you're not gonna write a movie script after having one, but that's a weird thing.
I think that's the reason why people go there all the time, because it's not trying to be anything other than what it is.
Just good.
It's a local neighbourhood bistro.
Absolutely. The chicken salad, on the other hand, that thing is the business, and it's basically
coffee's great.
Yeah,
floor stuff.
And that's the thing. The staff is good. Yeah. They know that Jason's been there forever. He knows how to run that place. I love it. I mean, I actually I work just around the corner from that.
Yeah,
a few days a week, and it's still a great place to go and catch up. I think. When I was consulting years ago, I basically lived there. It was just ridiculous because it was like, I could be there and have meetings there, and they were so great to me and shared the Wi-Fi code, which back then was
that's half the problem,
bucks,
right?
But yeah, definitely.
Sit in a cafe and sit on 2 cups of coffee and cost them $8. And
there's a place at the coast next to one of our venues that is good. It's like it's like a little market. There's kind of 4 or 5 different operators in there, and you can order from each of them on your phone, and which is great. But the amount of people in there just sitting on one coffee, and it's all. And the laptops are open, and it's basically a co-working space almost. So it's like you can get a co-working space for $5. You're doing pretty well. But have you ever had somewhere that did breakfast?
Yeah, a couple of places. We had Miss May, which was over at Sippy Downs Cafe.
Now Sippy Social.
Yep, Sippy Social. They're doing really well.
Great little.
Again, owner occupied now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we opened that knowing that we wanted to set it up, get the systems right, and then sell it.
Yeah.
The whole game is to sell it.
Right. From the outset, that was
Yeah. And we did the same thing with Udalo General Store.
Yep.
We wanted to we brought the freehold there. So we had a real passion for the building.
Yeah.
So we wanted to buy the building. It's 100 years old. We wanted to do it up, renovate it, get it going, get all the systems in place, and then sell the business, keep the freehold, which we've done.
Yeah.
And I reckon we're pretty sharp in and around operational numbers and stuff like that. And, there were some weeks you'd make a few bucks, some weeks you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Overall, so long as it sort of was wiping its own ass, we're happy with that.
Yeah.
But the new owners go in there, and they're, one of the gentlemen's working in the kitchen, his wife's working out on the floor.
Yeah.
And they're making a good living out of it. Cool. So I think that if you're an owner-occupier, you can turn a $100,000 a year job into a $250,000 or $300,000 a year job
if you're good.
Yeah. But if you've got to go and hire a head chef, got to hire a restaurant manager, and you're trying to sell bacon and eggs for $12, that's going to be tough. It's a tough gig.
And I think that again, we've talked about this before. Like people think the silver bullet is coffee. It's like, oh, you make so much money on coffee, which is that's just not true.
No.
And I think it was probably. It was a few years ago now, and Philip DeBella came out and it was just like, just so you all know, this is what it costs. And I think it's a great thing to sort of explain that to people. I think the days of coffee, making great money on coffee was when we didn't care about coffee as much.
Yeah.
And the coffee was nowhere near the standard it is these days. And I think that you're right. I think the trick with breakfast is volume.
Yeah.
And that's really hard because it's fast.
It's time.
It's so fast.
You've got to be. It's very prep heavy. So
Yeah.
then the execution is quick, or else you burn time
quickly. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, a lot of those things as well, like they are perishable.
Yeah.
So like, your salmon for your eggs Benny or whatever it may be, it's like, holy smokes, we've got to sell that. I know there's a couple of venues that I've been involved in the past where we used to do so much stuff in-house. That's where we drove margin. Was like, we're making our own muffins. We're making our own everything pretty much
just
from
add
scratch.
labor to it. It's the same as like making a hollandaise. It's a 20-minute process.
Yeah.
So before you even put that hollandaise on eggs, it owes you $5 in labor.
Yeah.
Before you look at the food cost.
You've actually got to sell 20 of these serves rather than one.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going backwards.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with breakfast. There's nowhere to hide.
No.
Because people are going to have a coffee, maybe a juice, maybe 2 coffees, and bacon and eggs. That said, though, like these days, you're going to pay $25 for bacon and eggs.
Yeah.
Where was it the other day? It was avocado on toast was $21. It's like, where do these avocados come from?
$5 now.
I know, but it's just like, who was it that said that's why no one can afford the housing? Oh, it's true though. I mean, like we love avocados at our house, but Jesus, it's
mate, I tell you, I go to, and I'm a bit of a fan of a morning meeting.
Yeah.
Because I get so much more done. If I can get 2 meetings in before 8 o'clock, I'm an early starter.
Yeah.
It frees up most of my afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that. If I know that the person I'm meeting with is good for a 7 o'clock meeting, I'm on.
Yeah.
There's a joint in Maroochydore here called John Kyle.
Oh, good.
How good is it?
That place is great. We've been there a couple of times, I think, and I've met plenty of people there.
Yeah.
One thing about that place, though, and no offense, guys, but they close at like 1 o'clock.
Because they sell 700 breakfasts.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, no worries.
Yeah.
It might even be 11 on a Sunday. I think it's really early.
Yeah, right. Coffee's great.
Coffee's
Food's really good.
Yeah.
Food comes out quick. It's a slick operation, that joint.
And they've got 3 now, or is it just 2?
So.
There's Budrum as well, opposite the school. But
Yeah.
Either way, it's like I think there's the thing with breakfast. I think which is really critical is systems. You've got to have the systems nailed. All your costings need to be perfect. And like you said, I think making life as easy as possible for yourselves, which is tough. Yeah. The other thing at breakfast, certainly from my experience, is the expectation at breakfast is probably higher than any other meal because people are hungover, they're tired, they just want a coffee. They're in a rush. So it's like, I want my coffee before I've even ordered it.
Yeah.
It's just like, what are we talking about? But it's like, if you're trying to get a coffee down 30 seconds after someone hits the table, it's like, that's almost impossible.
Yeah.
But the good venues can do that.
Yeah, agree.
They punch coffees out. And that, again, it's like, that means you're probably going to get a second coffee, maybe a third coffee or something else, whatever it may be. But I think that's a critical step. And that those, we talked about SOPs, standard operating procedures earlier, where those kind of things make a huge difference.
Yeah, great.
If you've got that down. So it's like, hit the table, bang, water, menu, coffee to start, boom. And it's like, if I'm in a place and they start with that, it's like, we're good. We're on. Yeah. We had that meeting down at Boca. At
Stoa.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Just slick.
Yeah.
And we weren't there too long, which is good, but everything was quick and looked good. And you guys ate, looked pretty tasty.
Yeah,
so.
It's delicious. They do a good job. Breakfast is hard, but it's a sheer volume game. It's a numbers game. If you don't think you can do, if you're not doing 50 or 60 a day minimum, and then a bunch more on the weekends, then just no man's land.
That's the thing. I mean, 56 a day. Let's break it down. We get 50. Let's say 50 a day.
What's your average check? 25.
Average check is going to be maybe $30.
Yeah,
that's only $1,500. Like, depending on where you are,
your space is critical.
That's the thing. It's like, do we just get, go back to the days of, the late 90s, early 2000s in Sydney, where you get a 20 square metre place and you've just got a coffee machine and you just do piadinas and you just bang it out on Crown Street at Surrey Hills. Yeah, you could probably make that work. But these days, like, you're not going to be paying $50 in rent anymore. You're going to be paying,
That's when I think that if you're doing breakfast, I think you need to back it up. For me, if I was to ever do another breakfast venue, I'd need to back it up with a decent lunch offer.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be like a formal lunch offer like here, like a steak or something, but just something that you can get north of $25 for.
What are your thoughts on like an all day breakfast? Like, whereas you open at 7 till 2 or 3, and it's just all the same menu.
Yeah, I think that you've got to make sure you want to be famous for something.
Okay.
And I think if you're a breakfast and lunch place, be a breakfast and lunch place. So I don't like that. It's 11 o'clock and you can't get your eggs anymore.
Yeah,
like that's just a sticky point,
And I don't really. I mean, I do get it, but I also don't get it. So
Yeah.
like, I think we overcomplicate it by drawing a line in the sand. It's like just have the same menu all day.
Yeah.
Someone wants to come and have a burger at 7 o'clock in the morning. Let them have a burger.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to order fries at the Carlisle.
Did you blow yourself up?
Oh God, I was dead. This is a long time ago. Obviously, it was for educational purposes, but I think it was about 9:30 in the morning, and I sat down, and before anything else, I was asked if I'd like what kind of water. I'd like sparkling water, please. I'd also like a double espresso, and I'd like a Coca-Cola. It's like I was in the Hurt Locker. And then ordered like one of their ridiculously fantastic toasties. And I was like, is there any chance I can get some fries? And to her credit, she's like, absolutely not, but I will ask for you. And it's like, she knew where I was and how badly I needed these things. But anyway, I didn't get them. But I think that there is something to be said about that. That sort of just, it's all day. These are the things. You have a couple of things that are more lunchy if you want, a couple of things that are more breakfasty and somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
All right.
What's your go-to when you go for breakfast?
To eat? Oh, that depends on the venue. Yeah. I think for me, there used to be a place in New Farm, the Little Larder was called, and they used to do savoury mince on toast.
Oh, how good.
Holy smokes, this thing was so good. And it was like old school. It was like chunks of carrot in it, and it was so good.
Plenty curry powder.
Yeah, all it just looked dark.
There's a joint up in Rainbow Beach called Little Parliament, and there's been more than one occasion where I've wound up in there on a Saturday morning just busted.
Yeah.
And savoury mince with a poached egg on top.
So good.
Just fixes all
everything.
Problems. Yep.
I'm a big fan of that. I don't, obviously the classic sort of avo on toast for me is not really my jam. It's like I can just do that at home as well. So it's like I often when I'm dining, I want to have something that I can't do or don't do very often. So
I've got a controversial one: streaky bacon or eye bacon.
That's
not streaky all the time.
100%.
You've got a pig on your arm.
Not even a conversation. Eye bacon's not even bacon. That's
crispy,
just burnt.
Really? You want glass?
Not quite. Not yes, but there's that fine line between where it becomes a carcinogen. So it's like, I think like for me,
that's with the nitrates.
Yeah, that could be that. Like,
how do you cook it at home?
In the oven.
Yeah,
always
in between two trays.
Oh yeah, I just do one tray in baking paper, and that's fine. Because
somebody told me it might have been Luke Stringer. Air fryer and bacon are like,
yeah, I've tried it.
Love each
Not
other.
for me.
Really?
I didn't like it.
That grub's cooking lamb chops in the.
Mate, I was just something the other day cooking like steak from frozen in an air fryer. I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this. But I had one of the guys I play golf with, Pete. He's probably in his mid-60s, great guy, and he his partner went away recently, and he's like, oh, you wouldn't believe this. I ran out and bought an air fryer. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, Rosalind was away. I thought it was the time. So, because she was like, nah, we don't have any room for it. You know, it's like we've got a clean kitchen. I don't want anything out on the bench. So he snuck off while she's away for a week and bought an air fryer. And he's like, this thing is amazing. He's like, I've eaten it every single day. This is great. And then the following week, I was like, how'd you go? Rosalind's back. And he's like, we've had it 5 out of the last 6 nights. We've cooked in the air fryer. So I think everyone converts them pretty quick. I did. I was not into it. And then I was like, holy smokes. We actually cook chicken in it.
Yeah, right.
Like if we're just having our standard chicken and salad, which is probably 5 nights out of 7. It's not that bad, but it's a lot. And not in a bad way. Sorry. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this one. But there's so many things you can do. But yeah, bacon for me, no. I was actually somewhere recently on the Gold Coast having breakfast, and I asked for crispy bacon, and they 100% deep fried it.
Oh,
you know when you just know, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's like it's all crinkly, and it's like, oh, and they patted it, but it's like there's so much. It's like it's not ideal, but I do like crispy bacon. I do like bacon just in general, but I don't certainly eat it as much as I probably would like to for several reasons. But and we're on the Costco bacon now. Sandwich press.
Sandwich press.
Have you seen that? Have you seen the guy, the Maori Einstein, Kiwi guy? It does everything on the sandwich press. It's unbelievable. Check him out online. I think it's called Maori Einstein. He cooks burgers. He cooks the whole thing. He just gets whole mince packs, and he uses his hands for everything. And he like does things like brown tongs, brown spatula, talking about his hands. Everything's his hands. I love it. I love this guy.
Comments on that.
Oh, he's good. He's funny. He's very funny. So, yeah, Maori Einstein, I think he is. So Corey's just said that the best thing about a sandwich breast is that because there's a little bit of a lean, you can put a cup underneath it and get all the fat to drain off it. So
Stick it back on your potatoes.
fat equals flavour, mate. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I saw you inhale that duck just before. That wasn't exactly lean. But I think that, again, you know, what I was going to say with bacon, like I'm on the Costco bacon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maple bacon, delicious. When I used to cure my own bacon and smoke my own bacon, I'd take 10 days of curing in just maple syrup, pretty much, brown sugar, a little bit of pink salt to keep the colour in.
Jesus Christ.
And then, you know, nice smoke, a little hot smoke, and God, that stuff was good.
Nitrate
No, a
free.
little bit. No, there was a little bit. So it's just, butcher friend gave me some pink salt, they call it. So
You can make bombs with it.
yeah, I don't know what else you can make with it. I didn't really know, but he sort of said, "Don't tell anyone I gave you this."
Don't put it in the post.
Exactly. Whatever you do, don't travel over a border with it. But the other thing that I want to talk about from the breakfast point of view, obviously the thing with breakfast is the drinks are only going to be so much, right? Your bev spend is going to be, you know, juices. Mind you, juice these days is $8, $9. Coffee's $4 or $5, whatever.
What about a breakfast buffet, mate? How the fuck do they still work?
Okay, this is exactly where I was heading with this. So, saying recently in Brisbane for the night and got up in the morning, same thing. It's like probably not feeling 100%. Maybe it's time for a buffet. Went downstairs, did the buffet. It was perfect. It was great. When I say perfect and great, I mean for a buffet. Like you're not gonna. There was nothing in there. I was like, this is exceptional.
Name the venue.
And it was at the Hilton.
Yeah, right.
Which was really weird.
I've been in the Hilton ages.
Neither have I. And we stayed there because we wanted to be right in town. And I've got a bit of a soft spot for the Hilton. I wrote a wine list there many years ago when Vintage first came in. That the restaurant went after the refurb. And I said to Jen, the funny thing about this is that I can see in that cupboard over there all of my wine books that I bought in there in the first week.
No shit.
Just to look like a bit of a library. And they're still there. And that would have been...
They've probably never been pulled out.
No, they wouldn't have been. But that was probably 15 or more years ago when I did that. So it was kind of funny going there. That's my book. That's my book. There's all my books, actually, that they're all still there. But what I would say with it, and this is, again, not having it was adequate. It was exactly what we needed. It had all the classics, you know, little omelette station, which was nice. Jen probably won't like this, but she went up and came back with all this sort of fruit, and she's like, oh, I was like, oh, I didn't see that. She's like, no, this is from the juicer. Like there was a whole pile of fresher fruit for people to juice. But yeah, that was adequate.
The Sofitel was a great buffet.
Yeah. Up in Noosa, you mean?
No, Sofitel.
Or Brisbane.
Really?
It's
gangster.
Is it?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow.
It's one of the best. And so the W.
Well, because that's the old Sheraton, right?
Yeah.
That was always. So it was
So-
Carriages with the grill. What was the? Did they have a name, the restaurant? No, maybe not. But
that
buffet was always
I
great.
think it was Time. They opened a restaurant when I was at the Stokehouse down there.
Yeah,
There's a new fancy one up on the roof.
Up on the
I think
top.
it lasted a little bit.
Because there was a restaurant there in the 80s.
Yeah. They were able to spend a bomb on it.
Yeah, okay.
But they do a good job. So does W in Brisbane. Good breakfast buffet. But
So I think there's a time and a place for a buffet.
It's hard to make good out of a breakfast.
All right. What about brunch?
Yeah.
So, and I've had this conversation with plenty of people where it's like the concept is great,
It's just a shallow pill.
but how do you, and right? And that's the thing. So, but then you look at the Middle East and like brunching in Dubai, that's a thing. That's like that's a proper thing.
Maybe
because
keep it
again,
there.
you're in a hotel.
Yeah.
Which means you can drink.
Yeah.
So generally we'll wheel you in with like free flowing, champagne or whatever it may be. And I've tried that once before and it just never works. You get a certain crowd that aren't really there for anything else except for the champagne.
Yeah.
And you're just going, well, we just hosed all of our money because that person over there just drank 4 bottles. Congratulations, sir, but you've just broken our buffet. So, and I think that's the thing is like, how would you do brunch in Australia? Is it a thing? Do people even know what it is? I mean, where would you see it fitting?
Mate, I think you got to. Well, again, I keep saying you got to cook for the people. So if you think there's a market there, stick your toe in it. But you can't. That would take months and months to get some traction on that.
I would think so.
But everyone's looking for a cool breakfast place to go to.
Yeah.
It's just if you are good enough and you provide enough value for money, so you can feed a lot of people really, really quickly. That'll be the deciding factor on whether or not you make a quid or not. Look at Rick's on 6th around here. Holy fuck, those guys are busy.
That's, again, great product. That's what it comes back to. It leads with great product.
A shitload of mise en place.
Yeah.
But so it can be quick
and consistent.
Yeah.
And I think that, they're all the classic sort of, again, catchphrases that we talk about every week, I suppose. But there's something about that place. When Rick showed up at Noosa, when I was working up at Noosa, that was my nemesis, that place. Because
service station.
I'd go there in the back of a service station that you can hardly park at. I used to sometimes you have to line up to park to go get bread.
Yeah, the ruckus out the front.
My God.
It's like a zoo.
The problem is, and I've said this to people, it's like, when people go to Bunnings and you walk in, you're like, I want one thing, and you end up with 11.
Yeah.
That's me at Rick's. Any of them. I'll walk in there for a loaf of bread and I'll come out with sourdough wraps, an apple pie, a chicken,
potato Danish,
all of these. It's like, I'll just take everything. What kind of brownies are they? Give me 3 of those. It's just. And I remember the first time I did that, I was like, I just spent $55 in a bakery.
And you went there for a coffee.
I went there for one thing. It's like, what just happened? But then the idiot just keeps doing the same thing. It's like, I love it.
That's retail 101 when you walk in there and everything's talking to you.
And that's the thing. It's like always. Well, after about 11 o'clock it changes, but everything's bountiful. Like you've got that full cabinet where you just like, I want that, and that.
Yeah.
And I remember there's a couple of great places. Actually, there's a place on the Gold Coast. There's a couple of really good breakfast places down there. But again, there's this big cabinet. It's got stuff in it. And you're like, I want one of those and one of those. Thanks very much. Something visual.
One of the things I always say, especially working in the hotel for many years, and breakfast is one of those things where 90% of people get breakfast included in their
meal.
Yeah. So you got to be ready. You would have seen that when your time at Spices too, right?
Well, all of our rooms were bed and breakfast.
So pre-poach the eggs.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do to get a start on it.
Yeah, hold that stuff because that's pretty gross, isn't it?
No, you've just got
to hold them in water.
Poach them and then no. Poach them in water. Poach them and then throw them straight into an ice slurry. So it instantly cools them.
Yeah.
And then pop them back in the fridge so it stops the cooking. And then you're basically reheating them. And you've just got to get the timing right. So then you're not going to overcook them when they go back in the water, and you get enough heat in the middle.
How long does that
take? It just depends
on
the size of the egg and stuff like that. It doesn't take long. It's like a pancake.
Yeah.
Rather than hoping nobody orders a pancake, like and the best pancake, this is somebody who worked in the cruise ships, mate. My first job was pancakes. Fuck, I can pancake.
Can you?
Yeah. And especially if I'm not doing it for a million people, I've got a hybrid, the Japanese wobbly pancakes. Yeah, that's
like the thick ones. They're like
it's half meringue.
Yeah, it's like I was going to say it's all egg white.
But pre-do it, like pre-do them.
Yeah,
like make the batter the night before.
Yeah.
Then on Sunday morning, if you're making them at home, bring them out.
They're ready to go.
Or if you're going to do it in a service, just pre-batch them.
Yeah.
Pre-batch them up.
I remember actually my son's christening. It was a breakfasty, brunchy kind of thing. I did corn fritters, so it was just like
delicious.
Again, you do them the day before. I did
run them through the oven.
Was doing them to water, and it was absolute nightmare. But
bit of tomato jam on them. Run them straight through the oven.
Simple.
Heat them up.
The other thing,
pre-crispy bacon. Run bacon through the oven.
Yeah.
Get them started.
And I think that's the challenge at home is like you've only got one oven. You're trying to do that and that and that and that. That makes it tough. I was just thinking back to. God, a long time ago. So 19. Anyway, it was at 19. We had a cafe at QT Kelvin Grove called Beatles on the Quad. We didn't name it. And we used to do these little sourdough rolls. So there's an amazing baker in Brisbane called Brew Bakers.
Oh, yeah, good were they?
Richard, just the best.
He used to supply the bread at the steakhouse.
Did he?
Yep.
And we love this guy. And so we started ordering muffins off him originally, and then we started ordering sourdough rolls from him. And then every now and then he'd slip in. They used to do like it was like a hot dog in pastry.
Oh, yeah, what's that called?
Like there's a name,
smoky,
like smoky, smoko dog or whatever. But he did them, but like great hot dog, great pastry, and every now and then they get thrown into the order, and it was just like we'd fight for this thing. But he used to do these little sourdough rolls for us, and they were tiny. Almost like a bap, sort of flour covered. And we just slice them on like actually a 45-degree angle, open them up, put in there piece of Swiss cheese, poached egg, and a little bit of ham. And we'd sit them up on the counter on a cake display with a clear cloche on it, and just be sitting there. And people would walk up and go, "Can I get a coffee and whatever the fuck that is?" It was just like, because there's no time. It's like, do you want us to heat it up? We'll throw it in the microwave for 30 seconds.
I think that's one of the things, if you ask me, one of the most important things about breakfast is speed. Hence the reason I'm saying, if you can pre-batch some stuff up, like get a steamer, get one of those Japanese steamers and but pre-do all your pancakes.
Yeah.
Especially on a Sunday morning when you know you're going to get massacred
You're
with
gonna get
kids.
hammered,
You can stack them 3 pancakes high, throw them in the steamer for a minute, and they're scorching hot.
So
Perfect.
is planning?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for breakfast, you reckon?
It starts with the menu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're always going to be serving a shitload of bacon and egg.
Yeah.
Poached, scrambled, and fried.
Do you
Start there?
I think I don't know if I haven't seen it recently, but the no substitution or the no changes on breakfast.
Fuck off. Really?
Like
You're going to tell me what I want for
I
breakfast?
knew the answer to that, but I really wanted to hear it.
I mean, Jesus Christ. That sort of shit fucking And why did I go broke?
Yeah.
Or the fucking landlord changed my rent? No, it's because you're a fuckhead.
Yeah.
You know, just give the people what they want and charge them.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't understand that. Substitution, like what is it? I mean, I shouldn't be that broad, but is it because you're gluten-free and you want gluten-free? But I'm happy to do that.
Different conversation. Yeah.
But like, I don't care if you want to to give the people what they want and charge them for it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And give them good value.
I think that, flexibility is such a massive thing in our game. And, I get that there's some things you just can't do. Some days you just can't do things, and I fully understand that, probably more than most.
Yeah.
But I think that if you've got a menu where it's basically, eggs your way, add this, or this, it's like, that's all I need.
Yeah.
I'll come up with what I want for breakfast with that.
Yep.
If you can give me these 5 things, mushrooms, tomatoes, some bacon.
And the menu doesn't need to be 5 pages long, Pete.
No, I think it needs to be less than 1. It's like, just have 10 things and do them well.
There's nothing wrong with something cold.
Yeah.
Eggs your way.
Yeah.
Good bacon.
Yeah.
Have a couple of little add-ons if you want
granola, just
have a couple of pastries on the bench, and you can get fantastic pre-baked, par-baked pastries.
There is I don't even know the brand, but it's an Italian. They make sfogliatelle, like these beautiful sort of mascarpone filled ricotta filled pastries where the pastry is wafer thin and it's almost like it looks like a shell. I've probably completely fucked up that pronunciation as well, but you can get them so they're in the oven for 8 minutes and they're like they've baked them from fresh and they taste like nonas. They're just unbelievable.
Some of these French par-baked croissants are literally, you take them out of the freezer, throw them on a baking sheet, pop them in the fridge overnight, come in at 5 in the morning, already defrosted, they've started to prove up a little bit, bring them out, sit them on the bench for 20 minutes, brush them with milk or egg or cream. You really want that glaze on there.
You want that crispy
bit of cream and an egg. Brush them over, pop them in a hot oven. They're fucking perfect, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
And price-wise?
Are they going to be the same as Loon? No.
Yeah.
But, fuck. Commodores aren't fucking Aston Martins either. Oof. But if you're going to stuff it with an egg or some ham and cheese, then you're not doing it with a Loon croissant either, right?
Exactly. So if you are, it's going to cost you $48 and worth every cent.
Yeah. But somebody who's coming into the CBD who wants breakfast and a coffee, they just want a good croissant. They don't want to spend a fortune on it. They want it fast. And they want a delicious coffee. And they don't want to have to wait 20 minutes for it.
I know that if I don't say this, I'm going to get shit. Because I have a thing where I like to say things. It's not. There's something in me. It's hard for me to say things without the accent, which I get a lot of shit for at home. Like
sure.
A lot. And there was
Pedro Jimenez.
Jimenez. One of the ones was croissant, and one of the girls recently sent me this clip. I think it was TikTok, and this guy was. Just
I think I've seen the same thing.
There's one dude that does it all the time where he's sort of talking to himself about how to be like,
the Spanish baker, what's his name? He's fucking funny on TikTok.
Yeah.
He swears worse than me and I've got a fucking horrible mouth on me.
Wow.
But he's funny. He bakes the shit out of it.
Right.
Yeah, really, really good.
I'm sure he says it correctly as well. He
pans people who
don't do so.
Who do so.
That's the thing. I mean, we got to the point where again, everything people.
I'm going to find him now.
Well, India was sending me all these things where she's like, it started with croissant and then it turned into pretty much everything. She's like, are you going to say, what's the other one? Birkenstock. It's like, no, they're Birks. I get that. I don't have to say Birkenstock. But I mean, still.
Like Volkswagen.
Yeah, exactly. Volkswagen. That's another one. But things like that. It's like, for some reason, it's just a thing. I just always try and say it with the correct accent, but I get in trouble for it quite a lot. So maybe I'm a bit of a dick.
Instead.
God, I've never seen this guy. What's his name? Kane Kane
Single
Bergman.
Kane.
Do I still buy bread? No, is the answer.
Kane Bergman, but he's known as Senor Kane. He is
Funny.
fucking good,
All right, there we
mate.
go.
And,
Check that out.
Yeah, shout out to Senor Kane. He's very, very good. But he makes baking seem easy, and
It's not.
it's not. But he rips the piss out of people.
I saw that your son got a special on the menu here.
He did. He sold out too, just
Did
quietly. He may be a bit chuffed about it.
What was the dish?
Now, if I get this wrong, I'm going to get torn up. It was a vanilla. It was a vanilla parfait.
Yep.
Which he filled with an apple gel. Clearly, yeah.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
And then he
jam.
then he served it on a like a hazelnut nearly like fouetine with
You said that right.
yeah with like an apple compote. It was really delicious.
Delicious.
And he did
so
this
fancy apple pie.
yeah, kind of deconstructy thing. He did like a caramel mirror glaze.
Yeah.
It was fucking good.
It looked great.
Yeah. So
That's
he
all
did
I
like
can say.
20
That's
serves,
awesome.
and Justin was up his ass, but he did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
He come home and he's like, oh my God, I've got a special one. Yeah, so he did like 2 15-hour days.
So you
because
do the
he wanted to
costings
come
on
in
it?
and-
Or cost him $48 a serve? Or?
There's a few people got nicked.
I was going to say a lot of movements on that plate. Now Corey has thrown us
I'm
some.
liking this
some
new
beers.
segment, Corey.
I'm liking this as well. I'm not liking the amount of aeration coming out of that beer right now. What did you do to that beer beforehand? It's like Corey's shaking that up before he's thrown it down to TK. But all right, shall we taste this?
Oh, geez, that's good.
This is funny. This is not funny. This is fun. This is a really interesting beer. So this is Hitachino Nest. It might be Hitachino. It could be Chino. Sorry, my mistake. It'd have to be Chino. Yeah, it's aggressive. And this is their red rice ale. Now, I don't think I've had this one. I've had another. Oh God, I'm putting beer everywhere. Sorry, this is Corey's fault. What have you had this before?
No, first time. It's fucking delicious.
So
It's 7% alcohol.
okay, well that's all I'm having before I drive home. Jesus, that'd knock you because it doesn't feel like it at all.
No, not at all.
So the other one I've had from them was more like a almost like a kolshi kind of style, really sort of creamy and delicious. But this is so red rice certainly when it gets used in Japan for sake, it has this yeah, look at the color of it. It's like a celebratory thing when you're having red rice. Certainly with the sake. So maybe that's what this is about as well. I mean, I really don't know much about this. A beautiful pink-colored ale brewed with an ancient red rice, Asamurasaki. This ale has a moderated bitterness and pleasant acidity with a hint of fruits on the nose and palate. It's pretty smashable, to be honest. I mean, it's
really yummy. It'll
there's
open
flavour
you up
there.
like a banana belt.
It was at 7. That does not feel like 7% at all.
How's that Japanese beer going down, Corey? Last time I seen you drink one of them, you had about 700 after that as well. It's quite yum.
What do you say? It's what? Ripe. Ripe fruit. What kind of fruit? Skin or seed or flesh? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's almost like it's not tannic, but there is certainly that. There's some grip there.
There's some
It's
interesting
dry.
beer,
Yeah.
it is dry.
Super interesting beer. Geez, that'd be fun to try with some different foods. I reckon
Yeah.
that could be a really interesting beer from a matching perspective. As I said, certainly the red rice sake that I've had before from Black Market Sake. Matt Young brings in some of the best sakes into Australia.
You ever had chicken skin fried like a chip?
Yes,
That would be unbelievable. with it.
delicious. Yeah, I think Bird's Nest, when Bird's Nest was the
Heck
first
of
Bird's
those
Nest at West End, and the girls were so good. And we used to go there a bit. And I used to make Lachlan eat everything. We were eating hearts and, cartilage
Chicken
and,
tail.
the tail. They're my favourite. The
Me
chicken
too.
tails are
Just
so
like an
good.
explosion of chicken fat.
Just, so good for you. But yeah, I remember the first time I gave him hearts and he was like, oh, it's yum. What's that? And I was like, you don't want to know, but
It's a bit
we'll have it again.
texturous.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I think the thing with chicken hearts as well, like doing them on the yakitori as well, they don't. So even that, I just see. That's the thing. I can't. I'm hopeless. It's so bad. But I think I don't know. I think it's me being
Culture.
respectful. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. I don't think that's necessarily the case. But yeah, we used to go there a lot. I haven't been there for ages actually. Well, it's not
Very good.
It's not
One of
there
the
anymore.
Valley's great.
There's one at Toowong now, I think,
Yeah.
as well. Is it? Anyway, but yeah, I think this is super interesting beer. I don't even know where
just
this
came
comes
in the
from.
market wine store.
Who brings
It's
this
really
in?
good.
Iowa? Okay, yeah, okay.
Very
It's delicious. I don't even know what this costs. I'm guessing it's not very cheap.
We sell it in the bottle shop for about $7.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
For both of them, or is there a deal for two? Or
I'm here to make money, not friends.
yeah,
Pete.
I know. But I think that'd be an interesting one to sort of throw into people. Even just pouring that, the color would flip everyone's mind. It's like, what's happened to that?
Good party trick.
But then it's really clean. It's not super hoppy.
No.
Doesn't
taste like pot puree.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like pop puree. Thank God. There's no. Yeah, as you know, I'm very much against hops, but not against. They're just not my thing.
No,
But
and there's no reason why you can't. Like I'm not a craft guy, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Ichiban, the Kirin Ichiban.
Yep.
And we've got a very close relationship with those guys through the Asian restaurants, and we've there's not too many of those Asian beers I don't like. You know what?
the rice. It's rice.
And I read an article the other day, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 of the top 10 biggest selling beers on earth are Chinese beers. The only beers that
purely on volume.
you have to think, right?
Well,
But
yeah,
the only ones that I recognise Bud Light and Heineken.
Yeah.
The rest were Chinese. And I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, I certainly hadn't heard that, but it makes sense purely on volume, I think, more than anything else. So, I mean, I think like Kingfisher in India used to always be pretty close to that mix as well for the same thing. It's like there's just so many people drinking that beer. Yeah, Bud would have to be in there, I would imagine, again, based on volume. But again, Budweiser's made from rice as well.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay.
But it's, I think rice, there's something about beer brewed from rice that it's lighter, like obviously like Heads of Noosa with their Japanese lager, that's exactly what that is, and it's just so clean, so fresh, and that sort of dominates up here, that's for sure. In that,
I can't say that list. It's like the most popular beer brands in the world, but
yeah,
it was very, very Chinese focused with a few others that Beck's was up there.
Yeah,
Beck's, Heineken.
They're those really classic European brands where like if you're in Holland, you're drinking Heineken. It's just kind of what it is. And then
I remember the first time I ever went to
yummy.
France, and I we went out for dinner, and I walked past this little bar that had a Heineken tap on it, and I was like, yes. But they don't serve it cold enough. Well, not in comparison to what we like.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's the beer in Europe and really in general is always warmer than it is here.
Oh, the same in the States, right?
Yeah.
You buy it at a servo, and I think it's like 10 degrees.
Yeah, the fact is you're buying it at a servo. That's the other great thing about that is that, just drive through. So,
but I'm liking this new episode, mate.
Yeah, I think
bit of a taste test. We might do some food next week.
That's good.
That's bloody delicious.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
cheers
yet again.